I'm about to throw away my phone after seeing this. So this right here is a year. This right here is the time you spend sleeping. This right here is the time you spend at school. This is the time you spend eating. This is the time you spend in the bathroom. And this is the time you spend on your phone. 4.8 hours a day on average, if you're lucky. Notice how little of the year is left. But if you get your phone usage down to 3 hours a day, 2 hours a day, or even an hour a day, you will have so much more time left to enjoy life. My goal with this video is to help you do just that. So here are 12 things that you can do instead of mindlessly scrolling. Alright, activity number 1, create subject-specific playlists. Now look, I'm sure you already have a study playlist, but chances are it's filled with lo-fi beats from start to finish, and that's no fun. In my opinion, every subject has its own vibe. I mean, wouldn't you much rather listen to classical music for English and history, and then electronic music or maybe even cinematic music for science and math? If you're bored, try crafting the perfect playlist for each of your classes. And trust me, this is pretty fun. And once you do that, head over to my Discord server and share your playlist in our study playlist channel. I'm sure that students worldwide would really appreciate your music taste. Alright, activity number 2, build projects using Cursor. And no, this isn't sponsored, but please let me geek out for just a minute. If you have ever wanted to build an app or a website but didn't because you don't know how to code, well, you're in luck. Cursor is an AI-powered code editor that can help you build whatever you can imagine. I have been using it for fun for a ton of side projects, but let me show you an example right now. So let's say we want to build a 3D tic-tac-toe game. Why 3D? I don't know, it just seems cool. But here's the problem. I don't know how to build 3D games, though I would love to learn one day. So let me just tell Cursor, could you help me build a 3D tic-tac-toe game? Honestly, we could just leave it at that and see what Cursor tells us, but because I'm aware of Three.js, which is a JavaScript 3D library, I'm gonna go ahead and tell Cursor to use it. And now we wait for the magic to happen. Okay, so there we go. It's told us what files to create and how to structure our project. Now I'm gonna go ahead and speed through this part, but just watch how fast all this comes together. All right, and there we go. When I was younger, I always wanted to build a game, and I can't even begin to explain how excited 12-year-old Gohar would be to use this technology. So please let your imagination run wild and have fun with this. Alright, so activity number 3 is to start a movie club. And I get the irony in this because I'm essentially telling you to stop staring at a smaller screen and to stare at a bigger screen instead. But just stick with me for a minute, because I would much rather have you stare at a screen intentionally instead of letting an algorithm suck away your attention span. Okay, but anyways, movie club. So a few years ago, my friends from high school and I started a movie club. Every single week we watch a movie on our own and then discuss it together on the weekends. First, it helps us all stay in touch, and second, it has helped me become more cultured. I'll be honest with you guys, I spent so much of my time in high school studying that I didn't really have time to watch movies or even TV shows. But with this movie club, I finally feel like I've been catching up on some classics. Up next on my list are Inception, Pulp Fiction, and The Dark Knight, and I know, I'm also surprised that I haven't seen these, but please, if you have any other recs, be sure to drop them in the comments. And maybe we could start our own community movie club on Discord? I don't know, let me know how you feel about that. Okay, and while you're typing up your opinion in the comments, I'm gonna jump over to activity number 4, bother your siblings. I'm not joking, one of my favorite pastimes is to walk outside and bother Mahad whenever I'm bored. Sometimes I'll walk up to him just to see what he's doing, sometimes I'll walk up to him just to remind him that MIT is so much better than Harvard, and sometimes I'll just walk up to him to hang out. The cool part about siblings, especially as you get older, is that they go from these annoying people who constantly irritate you, but are also your closest friends. Now I know, messing around with your siblings does not seem like the most productive use of time, but it is magnitudes better than just sitting on the couch and scrolling on your phone. Alright, the next activity, which is honestly pretty satisfying, is to declutter your digital space. Okay, now tread carefully with this one because it requires using your phone. So if you have bad self-control, just skip this one entirely. But if you have the willpower to resist social media and not get distracted, I want you to take some time to declutter your phone and to declutter your computer. So go through your phone and delete any unneeded apps, photos, and videos, organize any existing apps into folders, and maybe give yourself a new wallpaper just to spruce things up. And I also want you to do the same with your computer and your cloud storage. On your computer, you can use a program like Wistree to scan your disk and delete any big unneeded files. And if that sounds oddly specific, it's because I literally just did that a couple hours ago. And then if you use Google Drive for your cloud storage, head to the Storage tab and click on Clean Up Space to give yourself some extra room. Honestly, this is a pretty productive and satisfying way to spend your time. Alright, and the next activity is to paint. And look, it doesn't matter if you're not artsy, there are a ton of beginner-friendly tutorials on YouTube. In fact, I recently used one to paint this, which y'all showed a lot of love for in the community tab, so thank you for that. Now, if you want to give this exact painting a try, I will link the tutorial in the description of this video. And if you end up trying it out and want to be featured on my Instagram story, DM me a picture of what you come up with. I would love to see how creative some of y'all are. Okay, but what if you don't have access to paint supplies, or if you really just don't want to paint? Well, do something else that's creative instead. For example, sketching, playing music, or even trying out photography. Ultimately, the goal here is to do something creative because, let's face it, in the pursuit of STEM degrees or high-paying jobs, we often lose touch with our creative sides, which is a very important part of being human. Now, picking up creative skills is a challenge, but it might be easier with the help of our sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is the ultimate online destination to pick up any skill that you can imagine, from productivity and web development to graphic design and painting. You can take classes individually, or you can explore learning paths, which are curated collections of similar classes. For example, I'm considering this one right here, Explore Acrylic Painting as an Absolute Beginner. This 10-hour learning path will take me through all the fundamentals and help me brush up on my skills. No pun intended. But I get it, you have school and you might not have time to take an entirely new class. Luckily, Skillshare is an on-demand platform, meaning that you can learn at your own pace. On top of that, Skillshare classes are broken down into bite-sized videos from experts who are passionate about what they're teaching. This makes it easier to digest the concepts and stay engaged with the lessons. If you're ready to pick up some new skills in 2025, head to my description. The first 500 people to use the link in my description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Get started today. And now, back to the video. Another important part of being human is speaking, which brings me to my next activity. Try to learn a new language. So the other day, I was walking around Yale's campus when I ran into hundreds of students who were there for the World Scholars Cup. First off, I just want to thank everyone who said hi. I was able to speak to dozens of y'all, and I am now convinced that this community includes some of the most driven and passionate students around the world. I remember one student who was a freshman in high school, just a freshman, and speaks 5 languages. And then right after that, I met another student who I believe is a freshman or sophomore and speaks 7 languages. I remember standing there bewildered when she first told me, and at that moment I realized, you know what, I want to try learning a language again. So at the foundational level, we have our language learning apps, which are a bit controversial in terms of their efficacy, but I think they're fun, engaging, and most importantly, a way for you to stay consistent. For example, I took 4 years of Spanish in high school, but because I've never regularly engaged with the language since graduating, I've slowly forgotten a lot of what I learned. But at the next level, we have content immersion, which includes things like watching TV shows, movies, or listening to podcasts in your target language. This way you can go beyond the basic vocab and learn how to speak the language more contextually. Okay, the next activity is one of my favorites. Explore the world. Not physically, but digitally. Growing up, I spent countless hours exploring Google Earth just for fun. One of my favorite features is the I'm feeling lucky button. If you go ahead and click on this, Google Earth will transport you to a random location on the planet. Let's see where we end up. Hibiya Park in Japan. Fascinating. And up here we have images, a short description, and a link to a Wikipedia page. You know what? Let's just click on this and see what we have here. Okay, so this park covers an area between the East Gardens of the Imperial Palace to the north and the Shinbashi district to the southeast. Well, now I want to learn more about the Imperial Palace, and as you can see, it's very easy to get sucked into a rabbit hole here. And honestly, I think that's great. Roaming Google Earth is a great way to explore different cultures, discover places you never knew existed, and to admire the beauty of our planet right from your bedroom. And you could also do a more local version of this. Instead of using Google Earth, you could use Google Maps to explore your town or city and save any spots that you want to visit one day. Okay, so the next item here is also one of my favorites. So whenever I'm bored or have a few extra minutes, I like to go on what I call a puzzle run. Sometimes if my brothers are free, we'll do this together just to see who does the best. So here's what we'll do. We'll do the New York Times mini crossword, followed up by Wordle, followed up by the daily set puzzle, followed up by a round of Zetamac. I know, we are a bunch of nerds. The puzzles are great because yes, they're fun and you can turn them into a competition, but they're also a great way of keeping your mind sharp. Zetamac, for example, is this arithmetic game that requires you to answer as many mental math problems as you can in 120 seconds. And a quick YouTube search will reveal that some people are absolutely cracked at this thing. So if you're into STEM, or actually if you're just studious in general, I definitely recommend trying it out. Also, if you have any other puzzle recs, please let me know in the comments because I'll try it. I will try all of them. Okay, the next activity is to start a collection. And this one is a far bigger commitment than the other activities I've gone through in this video, but it could be fun. Personally, I do not have a collection of any sort, but my youngest brother does, and I want to show it to you. Check out all of these Rubik's Cubes. I mean, just look at this. Some of these aren't even cubes. I mean, this one right here is, I don't even know. And many of y'all also ask me about this 7x7 in the back. No, that's not mine. That's also part of my brother's collection. Now, obviously, you don't have to collect cubes. You could do books, coins, stamps, vinyl records, or even sneakers. And I don't mean to preach to the choir here, but I think it's the little moments and pastimes like these that bring meaning and joy to life, not the big accomplishments or accolades. I mean, those are fun too, but those usually give you a spike of happiness that quickly wears off. Finding joy in the everyday, in these little moments and hobbies, is what's most important. Which leads me to my next activity, vlog for yourself. Now, I saw someone on TikTok talk about this, but the idea is to create a 1 to 2 minute mini vlog that you keep just for yourself. It could be a compilation of clips, it could be you recounting the day that you've had, but the idea here is to bring yourself into the present moment and to reflect on the life that you're living. I haven't started this, but I will very soon because I'm a little worried, y'all. I am 25 years old, and I know that's not old. Well, I guess to some of you it is because I see the occasional uncomment, but I feel like I was just 17 years old yesterday. And I worry that if I don't start being more intentional with my time, that if I don't start reflecting on my days or savor the small moments, that I'll be 50 one day and look back just wondering where it all went. Wow, sorry, that was not the turn I meant to take with this video. But with that said, let's move on to our final activity. Learn a practical skill. See, when our parents and grandparents were growing up, they were much more hands-on. They learned cooking, cleaning, DIY, even car maintenance at a relatively young age. Unfortunately today, most of us don't. So if you're bored and you really want to use social media, use it to learn something. Better yet, use it to learn a practical skill you will need to know one day. Now this list will sound a bit funny, but here are some examples. How to change your car's oil, how to check tire pressure and add air, how to tie a tie, how to pack a suitcase properly, how to iron a shirt, how to boil an egg, how to calculate tip without a calculator, and there are a bunch of others as well. And y'all, that wraps up today's video. Let me know in the comments which of these resonated most with you. And if you haven't already, subscribe, like, check out my Notion template, ScholarOS, link is in the description, and I'll see you again next week.